Welcome back, folks, to WWE Network and Chill. I'm Graham Jason Matthews, and right here on the show each week, every Monday, well, today, Tuesday in this case, I break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. I will be honest with you, this will be a bit shorter episode than usual just because I did not have time this week to watch something from the archives. I just checked out something last night after Raw on the network. The Season 2 premiere is what they're calling it anyway, of WWE Ride Along. I was going to watch something else. Didn't have enough time. Hopefully next week. New episodes usually go up every Mondays, but I've been pretty busy this past week, so I had to go up a day late, so I apologize for that in advance. But nevertheless, we really don't have a set schedule for stuff to talk about here in the show in the weeks and months ahead. For the past couple of weeks since we brought back the show at the onset of 2017, I've talked about Unfiltered, Table for 3, today is Ride Along, next week might be a WWE 24 special, which are always great. That's an hour long. These episodes are 20 minutes long. Unfiltered with Seth Rollins last week was 5 minutes long, so they go really all over the place. But they're all great. All the original content on the network they offer, from Ride Along, Table for 3, Breaking Ground, which I talked about last summer. All the old episodes of Total Divas are all great, so check them out on the network. But yeah, so today we're talking about the Dallas Detour episode of Ride Along featuring Daniel Bryan and James Ellsworth and the former SmackDown Tag Team Champions Rhino and Heath Slater. So this episode was filmed right after the TLC pay-per-view about a month and a half, 2 months ago, in early December, coming out of that show in Dallas, obviously, Dallas Detour, as you can tell from the title. But yeah, I thought it was a good episode. If you haven't already checked out other episodes of Ride Along, I would strongly recommend you do so. Some are better than others, but they are typically very enjoyable. We've seen, basically, for those unfamiliar with the concept of the show, it's superstars riding from one city to the next. And the never asked question is, how do these guys spend their time? What do they do to kill time in the car? And like I said, some of these can be really, really good. Some are very interesting on kind of the insights of the wrestlers and the lives they live on the road and outside the ring, so to speak, and how they interact with each other. We've seen episodes with Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, Dolph Ziggler and The Miz, the Bella Twins. I think one might have been Summer Rae, R-Truth, and maybe Natalya or Renee Young, one of those two. We've seen episodes with the commentators, Michael Cole, JBL, and Byron Saxton, Charlotte Flair and her father, Ric Flair, way back when from like May. So a lot of these can be actually really, really good. I thought this episode was good too. Slater and Rhino, despite kind of the tension they teased between the two, dating back when they first started teaming about 6 months ago on SmackDown, have pretty good chemistry outside the ring as well. They play off each other well. I thought Rhino would get at some point annoyed at Heath Slater and what he was saying, but that was not the case at all. Typically here in the show, I do kind of a play-by-play, a recap of what's going on, like what is said and all the things they talk about. I don't really remember, and I didn't do that because I didn't decide on reviewing this episode until after the fact. But yeah, just bottom line, Heath Slater and Rhino, great chemistry between the two. They kind of spend the entire time talking about history, other miscellaneous topics, losing the SmackDown Tag Team titles, becoming the first ever SmackDown Tag Team Champions back at Backlash in September. So they're going back and forth. That's great. James Ellsworth and Daniel Bryan, I think, is the more interesting pairing of the two on this show. Just because, not that they're polar opposites, but they get off on a bad foot. Not that they hate each other or anything, but they get off on a bad foot right from the get-go. With James Ellsworth, I think he rented an SUV or something like that. And Daniel Bryan wasn't all too happy with that just because he's very... and very environmentalist and stuff like that. He's very mindful of the environment and shit like that, so he wasn't too pleased with that. But Daniel Bryan has the sniffles. His nose is running, throughout the entire episode, and he's blowing his nose constantly, and James Ellsworth is like, get that nasty shit away from me, that's gross, and Daniel Bryan is asking him to hold his tissues. It's really gross, but it's also really funny at the same time. They talk about, or James Ellsworth, they talk about his past before he became James Ellsworth in WWE TV as Pretty Boy, whatever his name was in the indie scene. And they talk about that, and he cuts a promo for Bryan, which he says is good, kind of sarcastically. They talk about a lot of stuff from James Ellsworth past and Daniel Bryan getting up in the business. He calls Brie on the phone, who had called him on the phone during her episode of Ride Along last year with Nikki Bella. So, I thought it was really good. They had good chemistry. They got along. You kind of see how James Ellsworth is behind the scenes when he's not in the ring, when he's not like a turtle freak or whatever shit, he plays on TV. But I thought it was good. Both pairings here, Heath Slater and Rhino, Daniel Bryan and James Ellsworth, both made for a very enjoyable 20 minutes, so check it out when you can. The 20 minutes fly by. I think the next episode might be even better. as we will explore the pairings as they ride along to the next city of Sami Zayn and Neville, who are documented, well documented good friends outside the ring, as well as Cesaro and Seth Rollins. So that should be a great episode. When that debuts, I have no idea. They debut new content after Raw every single week. Last week, it was the UK tournament preview, a tournament that I thought was great, especially day 2. I was contemplating talking about that here on the show today, but I already put up a written review about it on nextdaywrestling.net over the weekend, so if you haven't checked it out, be sure to do so when you can. Day 1 was good. Day 2 I thought was extraordinary, so check it out when you can. I thought it was awesome. But yeah, so they aired a preview for that last week after Raw. The week before that might have been, forgot what it was. The week before that was Story Time, so they switched out. Or the week before that was Bring It to the Table, or whatever it was, that whole thing. And I talked about that on Wrestle Rant Radio, and what a sham that was a few weeks back. I like the concept, the execution, and that was terrible, but anyway. So yeah, they weren't really clear when they're going to be airing it, whether it be next week or the week after that. Just stay tuned. I'm sure it will be in the next couple weeks at the earliest, so we'll see. But it will feature, for a fact, Seth Rollins, Cesaro, Sami Zayn, and Neville. All guys who are great, should have awesome chemistry. That should be a very fun show. But in the meantime, and in between time, guys, as always, be sure to leave a like, comment, share the video, subscribe. All that stuff is greatly appreciated. Have a great week. Stay tuned for a new episode of Wrestle Rant either today or tomorrow. I know the whole schedule is kind of fucked up this week, just because I've been super busy. But be sure to stick around for that. The new episode of Wrestle Rant and my review of In Your House 3, also as seen on the WWE Network. So until next time, guys, have an awesome week. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch you folks down the road.